All right. Hello, Rio here. For you, you're probably watching this in week 12, but as normal, kind of, I guess, as normal, I'm recording it in week 11. Today is Tuesday of week 11, and I just finished grading last week, so I'm just a little behind for your code up. And it was good. It was good to see. Seems like most of you got it. There were a few that I noticed inconsistently, more consistently didn't get a couple of items. So one of the things I'm going to respond to is because one of you, and I'm not going to say who, has been very specific about wanting to see the answers. And the work I've done so far in this class has actually been to capture the questions as we go through and not so much to write out the answers. And one of you, Jeff in this case, has done a fine job with that, and I've reached out to Jeff about that and asked him if I could share it. So for just this, during this period, I've only shared it with the student asking, but you might tell me if you'd like to see that document as well. And I'm a little hesitant sometimes to share stuff like that, just because once we share it out to everyone, anyone that is coming to do the assignment later, could use that as reference. But that actually brings up the point I want to talk about today before I get into the work, because over the weekend it was Valley Dev Fest and was such an honor for me. And I said this on the attendance for this week. And anyway, I'll talk about that, the response to that in a minute. Oh, the Google car just went by. How cool is that? I saw that this morning when I was running. So the Google car is running in my neighborhood right now. So it'll be fun to see if I actually get captured on the Google car where I was running. Sorry, digression. So over the weekend, as I was at Valley Dev Fest, I actually got a really cool moment to be able to sit and or stand and talk to some of you from this class, and also a student that took this class from me last semester in the face-to-face mode. And so it was great because I knew that transitioning this class from a face-to-face to an online was going to be a challenge. And I did what I thought in the moment would have been the best way to do it, and it's okay to make change, because what happens as we see things unfold, that's just a part. It's what Google's built on is actually the idea of iteration. Okay, so we're iterating. You're going to see in a minute. I'm going to go over some changes I'm going to do to the course from here to the end. But the major change, without even looking at it, I'll just tell you right now, is where we had the develop its that start in week 14 all the way to week 17. I'm changing those to be, instead of just where you've been submitting your URL for your private repo, we're going to turn those into discussions to where you share your output. And we'll talk about ways we share code and things like that. It'll probably be a little bit of just print screening that stuff and showing people. But the idea is that, that's one of the ways that we definitely learn, is we learn from each other. And I debated at the beginning of this class whether I should do that. And I leaned upon the idea that I wanted you to spend more time actual coding. So lesson learned, and it was true, because when I reflected on when I taught it face to face, there was always every week a component of our class that related to developing something. And so lesson learned for me, next time I teach this class, which will not be next semester, it'll be a year from this semester, I'm definitely going to do it that way, because there are parts of this that I liked and I think worked well. But I think the idea of every week taking a step towards a development project is better. So the other change that I've made, and again you'll see this because I'll show you the detail in a minute, is that in the next 2 weeks I'm adding an item to our schedule. And that item will be the develop it. So we'll end up with actually 8 develop its instead of 6, which does 2 things. A, it gives us 2 weeks, next 2 weeks, 12 and 13, to actually have one more item due in our class. But I will take that into consideration as far as what we'll be doing. But I'll talk about, and you'll see this in the schedule because it'll be what I'm working on next. But it'll give me a chance to more target breakdown and more less massive amounts of deliverables that you'll need. Not massive, but basically spreading that development across 2 more weeks, which I think should be better. And I think, again, turning the idea of, instead of you just turning it into me, is you showing the class what you've done and looking at how other folks have done it, I think is really important. And that's one of the great feedbacks that I got, specifically in this case from both Jeff and Asvina, was the idea of, because both of them have taken my 82, and how much they learn from looking at what other people output. So we're going to turn this class in that way. You'll see that. Okay, so let me go ahead and turn to the class itself and we'll take a look. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually here is I'm going to look at, in our course is like a little mini version of this. So if if you scroll down, before this was 6, and so what we're doing here is we're adding, right? So we're going to add 2 more weeks to this, which decreases the amount of impact of each one and decreases the amount of impact of the ones you've already done, which could be good and bad, right? But for most people, I think this is a benefit too, right? So I'm not going to update this schedule because I'm going to update the canvas, but what that means is we'll end up with a develop here in addition, like I told you, and which will add an item into our class. Okay, so I just wanted you to see how that percentage is affected. All right. So here we are. So coming back to this week and the item specifically that you're doing now, which is our next item, which is jQuery and Free Code Camp, right? So you're going to be watching the video I have now, and then you'll be doing, as we've done in everything else, right? Doing just the copy and paste, and I know that's kind of a pain for some people, right? But I'm going to keep that intact for the jQuery, the 18 we have for jQuery here. So just to show you this, here's the items you have for jQuery, and I have looked at the amount of time they say this takes, and I don't agree with it. I really think that's way overblown, and that's really I don't believe that. That's what I would tell you. And if you do, please tell me, right? If you say, yeah, that actually took me 3 hours to do that, I'd like to know that, because I don't think they take that long, even if you take into consideration the way I make you format it. Okay. So that's the first thing. And then the part 2 here is I want you to give me your feedback on the changes I've made to the remaining weeks of this course, and do it in the my notes.md file. Okay, so that's what I want to go over this week. Just pretty short. Gives you more time to do the work. And what I'll be working on next is, I know I still have some items to grade for you all, and I'll be working on the next code up and putting together the first or the next develop it, which will be develop it 3. Now and I'll leave you with this concept. The thing I've done too, and I actually should have shown this, but I can just talk about it, is I'm actually going to place the code it in a Sunday night required. So we'll have, and the code it, the develop it will be due Sunday night, and then the JavaScript, now that's for this week, right? So we'll have this item due Monday night, we'll have a Thursday night, and then we'll have a Sunday night item. And that will only happen for the next 2 weeks. I almost doubled up on the Monday. And if you find that you want to do them on a Monday, I would just tell you, I think they're better separated, because I think you really can do that focus time on that. So I just want to tell you that when you see, and it's good for you to look at the schedule if you don't already, and what I mean by that is the calendar. That is good just to see that. So anyway, that's what I want to see in your work, besides the work that you have for this week, which is jQuery, also adding that into your root index file, and then updating your mynotes.md, your markdown file for that. And then also I'd mentioned a couple other things, which is that if you wanted to see Jeff's answers, please let me know on that one. And maybe I'll just share it as people want to see it versus sharing it globally. I think that's the way I'll handle that. And so I want your feedback. Most important here is in the changes in both adding 2 more develop bits and changing the way you submit the develop bits to be class facing. Okay? All right, I'll start working on the next item and I'll talk to you soon.